Welcome back, family. Here we are back on Stellarium, and we have another witness to the finding with the Atlas Comet. Here we see on 11/24 Interamnia, which is an asteroid. It's 704 Interamnia, and we've talked about this in previous videos. If you're not sure about all of this and you're new to the Mazzaroth, then I can explain a couple things really quick for those of you who are just coming around to this type of information. Everything in the heavens, every star, every planet, every asteroid, every comet, I believe every part of the heavens, which we call the Mazzaroth, is a play, and all of these things that we see with the motion of the planets and the asteroids and the comets being in different houses or constellations, it speaks different language. So what we're looking at here today is the asteroid Interamnia lining up with the same spot that the Atlas Comet lined up in the constellation Sextans. And so we talked briefly in the video yesterday. Sextans is a navigational tool, and it's direction. It's something that you use to find direction or your path, or to navigate to where you're heading if you're in a boat, or if you're part of a large group traveling in a very specific direction and you need to make sure that you are traveling in the right direction. You can use them with the stars, you can use them in multiple different ways. So a sextant is a tool used to find direction. And it's very interesting that in the last video, the binding of the serpent, we saw that the Atlas Comet essentially wrapped around the neck of serpents and then went through the womb of Virgo and ended up at this point right here with Sextans, and then is now currently on its way back to Virgo. So I continued to look at the constellation of Sextans, and I went out for a little over a year just to see what I could find, and sure enough, Interamnia came to this very same location. So the codes that I've pulled up for Interamnia, one of them is the golden key, and this information that we get from numerical codes, it helps us just to see what we're talking about. So to me, this Interamnia being the golden key is in the location. We can go in and scroll in a little closer, and we can see how this point that we were talking about before is the area that the sextant uses to look at its direction. This moves along this beam here, and so the direction that we're looking with this is here. And so, same as the Atlas comet, it came here, and then it's on its way back. Well, Interamnia on 11/24 ends up in this same location. And so what I wanted to do is move forward and see where Interamnia is headed after this, and so that we can see if there is some kind of additional information that might be tied to the Atlas comet. So let's go ahead and move forward, and we can see where this goes, and we can see exactly what this is doing. So when I saw this make its motion as if it was encircling Sextans, it made me realize that this is also part of the entire story, because of where it ends up at this very end here, essentially, 1 year from the original sign. And what we have here is Interamnia ending up on 11/19. Let's actually scroll in a little closer so we can make sure we're on track. I thought it was a different. Yeah, so here we go. I'm going to call it right there. So here we are here with Interamnia essentially grabbing the snake by the tail, and we can see that this is also a very, very special sign in the heavens. It's not just that this asteroid is aligning with Hydra's tail, but we see just above it, in the constellation of Libra, we see a meeting that is very powerful. We see the Sun and the Moon and Venus and Mercury all in the Libra constellation. And in ancient times, Libra was an altar, as if it's like a church altar, so it can be a place where there is a marriage ceremony. So having the Sun and the Moon and Venus and Mercury there, this is strong marriage language here. And so what we're looking at is Interamnia being the golden key is lining up with the serpent's tail on a day where we have this alignment in the Libra constellation. And we also know that the scorpion's claws are considered the entrance to the Golden Gate. And one of the codes that I found for Interamnia was the guardian of the gate and access to stargates. And these types of codes, when they come in like that, they help you to see the bigger picture in a more grandiose scale. It's these small details that make the story really come to life. So to me, let's go ahead and go back. We got to center in on Interamnia so we can see this path. And there's other language here because it's going through Corvus and Crater along its way from Sextans to Hydra. And so it did its loop. We can see here it did its loop, and it essentially goes from the handle right here. Let's look closely because this is where you would hold the sextant, or sometimes they would put it on a deck of a boat, or they would attach it to a pole, or you could do many things with the sextant, but this is the area where it will be held. And we're seeing that Interamnia is doing its thing right here, and it turns around and goes, essentially it's like it's going around the handle, as if Interamnia is using the sextant to guide its path. So here we come all the way back to where the other comet was. So to me it stood out that we are seeing another part of the puzzle, because Sextans is between Hydra and Leo. It's a dividing line, and we are getting directions in the heavens for what is to come. So this is very strong language. It's adding to the story of the comet Atlas and the binding of the serpent, because Interamnia ends up essentially holding the tail of Hydra, and Hydra is associated with serpents, which is in the constellation of Ophiuchus. And these are also tied with Cetus. Let's go to we can see here Cetus is essentially the sea dragon, but there is also serpent associations with Cetus. So we have Hydra and Cetus and Draco, and then we also have serpents, and they are all representing essentially the same thing. And it is looked at as the adversary. And we have Ophiuchus, who is essentially holding serpents from getting the crown. And that's what the serpent is attempting to do, is to obtain the crown. So we have Interamnia giving us another sign of where we're headed in this overall, because the story continues every day, every hour, every minute. There is language being spoken in the heavens. And that's what we're doing on this channel, is we're digging deeper into the Mazzaroth to find as many details as we can. There's many other great Mazzaroth watchmen who are out there doing their part to interject as much as they can with the knowledge they have. We all have a different piece of the puzzle, and I hope you found this interesting and enlightening, and to me it is just another witness to what I just found with the binding of the serpent. Thanks for coming, and we will see you all very soon.